Mission.
I'm dead. I'm dead. See the paintwork on that car? That's what I will be feeling like at the end of this session. So, let's get to it. So I'll talk you through the session as I go, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and how it's going. But first of all, let's get back to how I prepped for this with breakfast.
Delicious.
Now a full nutrition video will be a separate video at some point, but thought I'd run you briefly through today's breakfast. So overnight oats, so it's some oats, there's some banana in there, there's some berries in there, there's some chia seeds in there, there's milk, but the little extra addition in there, which I have talked about on this channel before, is some fructose. And for this I've actually just used fructose powder, but you could use something like fruit juice or some honey or something like that to get some extra fructose in there. And the reason for this is by having fructose in basically your morning meal, you can top up your liver glycogen faster and better than if you just had kind of starchy or glucose sources of carbohydrate alone. And so hopefully that'll help me towards the end of today's session. Let's get back out there. Right, with breakfast out of the way there, almost time to start a proper warm up. So far, 226 watts, 115 beats a minute. Just nice cruise, getting the body going. But yeah, 45 minutes in, gotta start a proper warm up. Then after that, I'll talk you through the first set of efforts. So let's go with this warm up. Almost time to step things up to the next stage. Okay, 2 minutes at 350. Almost time for that. 1 minute at 400. So, first set of efforts. It's what a bunch of guys I've coached have nicknamed Death by Boris, but it's just over-unders. So it's 3 minutes 20 over, 5 minutes under, 3 minutes 20 over, 5 minutes under, and 3 minutes 20 over. So we end up with 10 minutes over, 10 minutes under, aiming for a little bit over 400 watts for the overs, about 350 for the recovery periods. So we should end up around between sort of 380 and 390 average for these efforts, depending on how I'm feeling. I could talk you through a bunch of science about monocarboxylate transporters, getting lactate out of the muscle, back in, things like that. So that's part of it, but also just being able to sort of change pace and things is also a good thing to do. Let's get to it. Here we go. Almost this first over done. Almost time to go back over, so I'm going to put the camera away and check it out at the end of the effort. All done. We've got 20 minutes easy riding, and then we've got to do that same effort one more time. Throw some stats for the whole effort up here somewhere, and yeah, 20 minutes easy riding. Let's get to the next one, talk you through the next phase of the ride. Still 2 sets of efforts to come. So I'm now doing these efforts on what we call the blueberry loop. Basically, no matter how you do it, you end up with 1 or 2 right-hand turns, but they're really quiet, and they're also, you can see from a long way out sort of what's coming. So just a pretty safe flat loop for efforts. But this one stretch here, there's like obviously this is the blueberry farm, that's why we call it the blueberry loop, and you can go and pick blueberries and stuff like that. But certain times of the year, so just coming into summer, they put all these beehives there to help pollinate it, and many a person has been stung by those bees, and it's not pleasant. I've had a real bad reaction to one in the past. But of course everyone's sort of picking berries, parking the cars there, coming and leaving. It's a little bit hectic, so it's pretty good if you can avoid actually doing an effort through that stretch like I managed to do here. Whoa, 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 that's quite a zoom. Quick intermission here. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe it so I can become one of the biggest cycling influencers in the world. It really helps the channel and I appreciate it. Now let's get back to the video. Believe it or not, riding at 425 watts or so, talking to a camera, it's not that easy. So I'll catch you at the end of this one. Let's go now.
A few moments later.
That is the long stuff done with. What am I actually looking for when I'm talking about these efforts went well? Obviously there's the power, there's one thing. Am I doing the power? That's obvious. But the second thing, probably most important, coupled with the power, is RPE, so rate of perceived exertion. So how is this power feeling? Am I really struggling to make the power? Am I feeling like I'm recovering well and I'm at that 350, 360? Then I wasn't really looking at my absolute heart rate too much, but heart rate recovery is one thing that is really important. So do the hard effort for the over bit, then how fast and how much does my heart rate decrease during that 5 minutes under? So that's really important too. And if it's recovering really fast into a good level, it's a really good sign of aerobic fitness. I've been going for just over 2 hours, so no surprise the heart rate's going up. There's some fatigue there, but there's probably also some dehydration and things like that. So on that note, I've already gone through this whole litre bottle, plus quite a bit of my other bottle as well. So time to go and get some water. Well, I knew talking about bees would be a bad idea, because I've just been stung by one. So it's not that little... It's not that was actually already there, but I actually can't see sort of where the sting was. I can just feel it. Convinced it was a bee and not a wasp, and I definitely felt it, so surprised there's no barb there. But anyway, just pulled over, just double check nothing happens, or no bad reactions. I have had one or two sort of bad reactions in the past, but as long as nothing happens in the next few minutes, we'll carry on with the session, and maybe I'll get a big muscly bicep, worst case scenario. So nutrition for this ride. This is a big load on this ride, so I'm aiming for 100 plus grams an hour throughout basically. No, I don't actually have that in my pockets because the camera takes up actually a bit of my space, to be honest. So maybe I need to invest in like a bar bag or something, but not a bar bag, maybe a top tube bag. So any recommendations, drop them down in the comments below. The next phase of the ride, nothing too crazy about it. Hour and a half endurance, not super easy, but nothing too hard either. Sort of 230 watts, 250 watts, somewhere in that sort of range. Pressing on the pedals a little bit, and then that's where the magic of the session happens. Gonna keep riding, probably pick up a little bit more food, and when we get to those efforts, talk to you then. Small Coke just to top me up to about 100 grams an hour for the session. Now it's a small Coke because I don't want too much carbonation for this next set of efforts. It's just 3 by 3 minutes at about 435 watts. If I go a little bit over, that's fine. But I've done 3,200 and something kilojoules of work already. And so at the start I mentioned basically two things I'm weak at. I think if you know me well or you've seen my videos, you'll know I can ride hard all day. So I can ride hard for 10 hours plus and still be riding hard at the end of that, and it's all good. So you'd think I'm really durable, got this good fatigue resistance, but when it comes to doing really high intensity intervals, sort of after a lot of load, I'm definitely not as good as I need to be or as I could be. So that's what I'm working on here. Now these efforts aren't full gas, they're just designed to get some work in well over threshold after a lot of work, and that's why there's a third set of intervals. So what's actually happening here with this sort of effort under fatigue? When you start riding, you're fresh, you're using sort of preferential muscle fibers, let's say. So the ones you want to use, you're used to using, they're well trained already, etc. But they fatigue obviously because you're using them, they run out of glycogen because you're using them. Therefore you're going to have to recruit more fibers or different fibers later in the ride as you fatigue. And that's why I'm doing these efforts at the end. So I'm going to have to, within reason, use different muscles to what you normally do. Now not different muscle group, just sort of different fibers. So you're going to end up training them. Now doing efforts at the end of a ride isn't the only way to train this sort of durability or fatigue resistance. Just long rides, doing a lot of riding and things like that helps a lot. I find these sort of big tempo threshold blocks help as well, but I do a lot of that, and so this is something I've been avoiding a lot, is efforts at the end of rides, because I just don't like it.
It's not very fun. When I wrote down things for like this next season's training, what I want to work on, one of them, number one on the list in fact, was stop avoiding efforts at the end of rides. That's what we're doing here. Power of 255 watts for 3 hours 40, so not insane, but given those efforts at the starts adding up, and then you're going to apply load now, can fall apart quite quickly, so let's see how this goes. That's the first one down, no dramas there, 445, so I felt it pretty good actually, but the hardest bit is actually just trying to hold back and just ride this pace that's not all out but uncomfortable. Minute to go, then we're on to number 2. So same again there, exactly 445 again. Definitely adding up already, like you can definitely just feel it in a set. A little bit more sting in the tail than it would normally be. One less to go, then we're into the final set of efforts. So quick, yeah, so 445, 446, and then 450 there on the last one, which nothing crazy in terms of power for what I could do for 3 minutes, but you take the RPE into account and the power and how long I've ridden before, etc, etc. And yeah, pretty bad. Pretty happy with it. Maybe I was expecting to say pretty bad. One set of efforts to go. I'm going to head to a climb pretty close to home to do them, and then I'll talk you through what they are next. Here we are, moment of truth. Just over that that little bump over there is the climb that I'm going to be doing my final efforts on. 600 watts, 5 times, for as long as I can hold it, up to a minute. So what that means is if I can hold 600 watts for a minute, the effort is 1 minute long. If, say, I can only hold it for 43 seconds, then that's the end of the effort, and there's 4 minutes rest between efforts. So the idea here is, rather than going full gas and blowing up after, say, 1 or 2 efforts and not getting much time there, I get a whole lot more. And it's also, rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to do 5 by 1 minute and absolutely dying and doing 500 watts for a minute, which is not a whole lot when you're talking about a one-off effort kind of thing. It's basically trying to accumulate as much quality time at a pretty high anaerobic power output as I can. So for context, my best 2-minute power is just a touch over 600 watts. My best 1 minute, 750-ish. So 600 watts per minute, in theory, should be doable. But I've done 4.5 hours, 250 watt average, just ticked over 4,000 kilojoules of work. So it adds up. It's going to be hard. And like I said at the start, 2 weaknesses. So the other one is sort of explosiveness, which just isn't really working on, but also just anaerobic power. Now, I know this isn't all out top end power, but it's pretty high for me in terms of, like, I don't do a whole lot of work in these top end anaerobic zones, and there's a lot of races I did last year where I came to the finish line in a relatively small group, and if I just had that bit more top end, maybe I couldn't have won, but I could have done a lot better, and maybe I could have won. So working on that here. So there it is. Doesn't look like much of a climb on the camera, but it's a nice little uphill, sort of probably 5-6% or so overall. Let's go. So that's what fatigue does here. So I got 55 seconds on that one, which that is not incredible. But working on it, so 4 of those to go. Round 2. Oh, 50 seconds. Really looking forward to having this one out of the way, because that's 3 of 5 and I've broken the back of it. Round 3, let's go. Another 50 seconds. Round 4. Another one of 50 seconds. 1 to go. Alright, last one. I think it gonna take everything I've got, but I reckon I can get to that 50-second mark again. $55. Whew. But I'm dead. I'm dead. So I said at the start I might match this. Don't know if I do or not, but maybe I need to go harder to look that bad. Finish that off, very glad to be done. 5 hours, 3 minutes, 240 watt average, 4,375 kilojoules of work, 300 watt normalized power, 0.773 intensity factor, 302.1 TSS, 132 beats a minute average. And we're not quite done yet. No, it's not another heat session on the bike in here, but it is another heat session jumping in the hot bath. If you found this video interesting, give it a like, comment anything you want to see down below. If you want to see me do some more crazy training, click this video up here where I did 3 hours at 330 watts. See you in the next one.